Hello and welcome. In this video, we are diving deep into building a comprehensive data pipeline using Azure services. Whether you are a data engineer, business analyst, or IT professional, this tutorial will show you how to transform raw SQL data into actionable business insights using powerful Azure tools. By the end of this video, you will understand how to set up an automated pipeline that handles everything from data ingestion to data visualization. Before we dive into technicalities, let's understand our business requirements. Firstly, we have our data in an Azure SQL, and that needs to be moved to cloud storage. This migration is crucial for scalability and accessibility. Second, we need to process to be automated, running daily to ensure our reports are always up to date. And third, we need to connect Databricks for advanced data processing and transformation. Fourth, we need to create aggregate tables that contain all our business KPIs. And finally, we will visualize everything in Power BI dashboards for our users. So, after this Azure SQL, our data will be transferred to Azure Storage or Azure Blob Storage, and then we will use data from inside our blob storage using Databricks to perform the transformations on our data. Using Databricks, we will create the aggregates or the aggregates table, and then after creating the aggregates, we are going to be visualizing our data using Power BI, and we can also create a Power BI dashboard as well. So these requirements are pretty common in modern businesses where data driven decision making is very crucial. So we will start our data source setup and we will be using Azure SQL Server, which we will be managing through SQL Server Management Studio or SSMS. The next thing will be uploading our data set to the Azure SQL using SSMS or Server Management Studio. Then we will move to Azure Data Factory. It is an ETL orchestration tool. We will create a pipeline to move data from SQL Server to Azure SQL. Sorry, SQL Server to Azure Storage. So this process will be done by now. We will be using Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage. And here we will select the enable hierarchical namespace for better organization. Then we will organize our storage with this structure. So raw data zone for initial copies, process data zone for transform data, and curated data zone for business ready datasets. Then we will be moving our data from Azure Blob Storage to Databricks, where we will use PySpark for our data processing needs. We will set up a cluster, mount points to Azure Storage, and manage secrets for secure access. Then we will be reading from Azure Storage, use transformation logics, and writing aggregates back to storage. And then we will be creating our business KPIs with using the aggregate tables. These will be something like daily aggregations for operational metrics, monthly roll-up trends analysis, customer specific aggregates for personalization. The next will be The final step to connect everything to Power BI. We will set up a direct query or import mode based on our needs, calculate calculated measures for KPIs, and design interactive dashboards and implement row-level security. And there you have it, a complete production-ready data pipeline solution using Azure services. In our next video, we will demonstrate the hands-on of setting up each component. Remember, this architecture is scalable and can be customized based on your specific needs. In this video, we will perform the practical implementation of an end-to-end data factory and data engineering project. So let's get started. The first step we are going to do is creation of a new SQL DB on Microsoft Azure. So let's go to Azure portal and select SQL database. Click on create. So what we are going to do inside it is use this SQL DB to import a local file from our local computer and then perform some operations on it using Data Factory. So let's select our resource group. I have already created one resource group that's named Data Factory, and you can also create your new one. Let's give a name and let's create a new server. Let's also give the name as end to end, and as our name is available, let's select the region as Central India. Now, under the authentication method, select use both SQL and Microsoft Enter authentication, or you can use only SQL authentication. I'm going to use both. Now, let's give the server name as server admin, and let's give a password. Again, let's select set admin. I've set the admin, and now let's click on OK. This will create our new server. And want to use elastic pool? No. Development? No, no, nothing else. Now go to networking and select public endpoint, and under the firewall rules select both of these to allow Azure services and resources to access this server and allow client IP address. Now go to next, security, nothing, just go to review and create and click on create. This will initialize our deployment for the SQL database creation and will take around 2 minutes to get our deployment ready and make our SQL servers. And we will be using Microsoft SQL Management Studio to connect to our servers or SQL database. So let's open it in the meantime. The next step what we are going to do is after connection is importing a file named pizzasales.csv into our SQL DB. And after that, what we're going to do is create a storage account and perform. As this storage account will be for where the database will be stored after performing the functions on Data Factory. So we can also create a storage account in the meantime. So let's open Microsoft Azure in a new tab. Now let's go to storage account and let's click on create. Let's select the same resource group that was Data Factory, and here it is. Let's give any name to the storage account. Let's give end to end and select. It's already taken, so 1122. Region is Central India is all right. Now go to advanced and inside advanced select Azure, enable hierarchical namespace and now click on review and create. Almost all of our deployment is completed. Let's click on create for the storage account so that in the meantime our storage account is also created. This will continue with our deployment. Now go back to the DB deployment page and click on go to resource And here you can see the basic information about our SQL database, and we will be needing the server name. So let's copy our server name to clipboard. Now go to Microsoft SQL and click on these options to get the big page. Server type database engine, and let's paste our server name end-to-end.database.windows.net. Select authentication type as SQL authentication, and if you have selected the Microsoft Entra authentication, you can also select that, but I will be using my SQL Server authentication. Let's give the name as server admin and my password. Now click on connect. Okay, um, let me check what's the issue. Given server admin, what did I write here? SQL Server authentication. Let me check the password again. Login failed. SQL error. Cannot connect to it. Okay. Okay, let's go to settings. Now, let's go to security inside our SQL Server. Go to networking, and we already have our client IP. So the issue was I have given server admin name as server admin. That's what the issue was. So let's go to here and change it to server admin, and password. Let's click on connect, and here we have connected to our database. So what we are going to do is use the database that we created named end to end and import a file that is present in our local system. So right click on the end to end database, and inside here go to tasks, and here you will see an option called import flat file. Click on it, go to next, and let's import our file. Browse, and the file I'm using is pizza sales. Go to next. This will preview our data. Next. Now let's change the data type for a few things to just int so that it doesn't cause a problem later. So order details is currently in small int. Let's just give it regular int. Same for order ID and same for quantity. Now next, this is fine, done. Insert data operation is currently under progress. So let's just wait for it. It's done now. Okay. Now again, right click on the end-to-end database and click on new query. This will open a query window for the end-to-end database, and let me show you that our data is currently uploaded. So from and our it was pizza sales. So let's select this and execute our query. And here you can see our pizza sales data is present inside the end-to-end database. The next step is to go to our storage account, and its deployment is complete. Go to resource, and this is the basic information of our storage account. On the left hand side inside data storage, go to containers, and let's create a new container. Let's give the name as raw and click on create, and this will create our container. The next step is to create a data factory. So open Azure portal in a new tab, and let's select data factories. Now click on create. Let's select our data factory, existing data factory resource group. Let's give the name as end to end, and it's already taken. So 1122, and region as Central India. Now let's go to networking. No issues, just click on review and create, and let's create our Azure Data Factory. So inside the Data Factory, we will be creating a simple copy activity to copy the data from our SQL database to the storage account or the storage blob we just created. Click on create, and deployment is currently under progress. It will take a few seconds. Let's just wait for it. Our deployment is successful. Let's wait for the option to go to resource. And here is our storage Data Factory Studio. Let's launch the Data Factory Studio. We can close this tab. Now our Data Factory Studio is up. Now go to Author tab, and we need to create a new pipeline. And let's open the pipeline, new pipeline. Let's collapse this, and we don't need to bother with the name. In the move and transforms, select and drag the copy activity from the activities pane, and you can change the name. It's all right. Let's go to source. Now create a new source, and our source data is present in Azure SQL. So let's search for SQL. And here you can see Azure SQL database. Now click on continue. Linked service. We will be creating a new linked service. And let's select our Azure subscription. Server name end to end. Database name end to end. Authentication type SQL authentication. Username. It was server admin for me. You might have given server admin. I made a spelling mistake there. And my password. And let's test the connection. And connection successful. Now click on create. And don't worry with that. Let's select our table name. dbo.pizza sales was our table name. And import schema, yes. Now click on OK. And this our source data set is complete. Now go to sync. What we want to do is create a new data set for sync, which will be the Azure Blob storage. Now click on continue. Select delimited text or CSV file. Continue. Let's create a new link service. So link service acts as a connection between multiple services. So it could be just Azure services or some other services. So let's select our storage account name, and let's test the connection. Connection was successful. Now click on create. Let's select our path to the raw folder. So raw, and now click on OK. Import schema, yes, and OK. Now what we want to do is publish all our changes. So let's click on publish all. This will be the changes, and let's publish. Let's wait for it to publish so that we can first try to run our pipeline and deploy 3 out of 3. Publish successful. Now let's first thing click on the blank space area in the pipeline activity, and now go to add trigger and select trigger now and click on OK. This will trigger our pipeline. It's running successfully. So go to monitor tab, and the first thing is pipeline trigger. It's currently under progress. So what this will do is copy the data from our end-to-end SQL database to the containers named raw that we just created. As you can see, it's already here. Let me show you. The trigger ran successfully. After you refresh, you will see it succeeded. And let me show you. It might not be able to show you the file because it's pretty big. Okay, so the file size exceeds this size, and so that's why you're not able to view the data here, but it's all right. You can see the file is present and it's big, meaning that it is the original file that we created. And the next thing what we are going to do is perform some operations on this data inside Databricks, and then we will create Power BI to perform some visualizations, and see you in the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. In this part of the video, we will be creating a Databricks a notebook and then for performing some functions on our data that we just got into our Azure Blob storage account. So without wasting time, let's get started. I am using here Databricks Community Edition. You can use Azure Databricks as well. The first step is to go to the compute and create a new compute. You can just click on create compute. Mine is currently under progress. Now, the next step is to go to a new notebook. The first thing we want to do inside the new notebook is attach our blob storage account to the Databricks. So what we'll be doing is mounting our data storage account and then getting our table from there to the Databricks so that we can perform the functions on it. So we are going to use the command. Let me show you the command here. So this is the command. Let me copy it, and here you can see the command properly. So we are using dbutils.fs.mount, and here we have to give the few things inside the command. So let's get those things as well. The first thing is container name. The container name we have created is raw container. So let's copy that. Let's give the container name wherever it is asking for a container name. So that's the only place we are using the container name. The next thing is the storage account name. So let's go back here and see our deployment. So this is the name of my storage account. You can copy yours. Now copy this as well, and let's paste it here and here as well. So the next thing is giving a mount name. So you can give any name. Let me just give raw. And the final thing we have to put in for connecting or mounting our Azure Blob Storage to Databricks is the access key. Let me show you how you can get the access key. Go to the storage account and inside IAM or access control, and it's not inside access control, but scroll down inside security and networking, you will see access keys. And here you can see it is the first key. Let's show and we can copy this. Now go to Azure, Databricks and replace the access key. And here you can see, in the meantime, also check your compute. It's currently still under creation. So let's wait for it to create and then we will be running this command. In the meantime, let's just replace the name. Let's give it end-to-end project, and Python is our language. So let's check for the compute. It's still under creation. Our compute has now been created and connected. So let's run our command to check if we can connect our blob storage to Databricks. Let's wait for it to run. And we get the out as true. This means that our blob storage is now connected to the Databricks. So the next, what we are going to do is fetch our data. Let's use db utils dot fs dot ls, and now we will give the mount name. So copy slash mnt slash raw, and let's run this. And here you can see we can fetch our data successfully. Now what we are going to do is create a data frame so that we can display our data. And now let's create a data frame. So we will be using spark dot read dot format, and our format is, as you can guess, CSV, double quotes CSV. And after that we will give some options. and its options, and inside the first option is header equals to true. So this will infer that the first column is actually a header, and the next is infer schema. So this will Databricks Spark will automatically guess the schema of our table. Now let's give that true as well. And the next what we are going to do is give the load. So the load is actually this path and dbfs up till visa sales. And let's give the load as well. Now let's run this. So it's just read the format and df is still not created. So let's give df equals to spark.read. So now let's run this. And in the next cell, we will display our df. Let's wait for the df to be created. And then we will display it using display bracket df. And Spark job is running. You can see. And our df is created. Now let's run the display df command. So this will display the few columns and lines of the pizza sales file. And here you can see we have order ID, order details ID, pizza ID, quantity, order date, order time, and various others. Now what we want to do is, oh, my bad, let me go back. Now what we want to do is create a aggregate table so that we can replace some of the columns, and we will only be using the columns we need. So let's go to the next cell and use df dot create or replace temp view, and then we will give a new name. Let's give pizza underscore sales underscore analysis, and let's run this. So this will create a new table at the name of pizza sales analysis. And now what we want to do is create the aggregate table. So we will only be using the columns which are needed for Power BI. So let's first display the pizza sales analysis. So we will be using SQL query. So we can use SQL query by writing percentage SQL, and then let's give select star from, and let's give the name pizza sales analysis. Let's run this. And this will display the pizza sales analysis table. We just basically copied it, but we can now we will be deleting some of the columns that we do not need. So this is basically the pizza sales table. Now let's go to the next cell so that we can select only those columns we needed. So use percentage SQL, and we will select, or the first thing we're going to select is order ID. Wait a second. And order ID, and the next is quantity, and the next is order date. But as you can see here, the date format is pretty unreadable for humans. So what we will do is convert this to individual month name and date. So let's use date underscore format, and then give the column name that we have order date, sorry, date. And now let's give the type. So MMM, this will be for month, and now give month name. Sorry, I forgot commas everywhere. So now in the next line, again, we also want the hour format. So we will use hour, and inside we will give order date, sorry, order time, because hours will be in order time, you can see. And let's give comma, so EEE, and now let's give order time. Let's also get the order date, so we will again use date format, and inside we will give order date. And sorry, this is not, EEE is not for order time, so that was a mistake here. The EEE was for or date format. Let's give a new column name. Let's say date name. Now what we want is, uh, let's get unit price, and also get total price, and let's say pizza size, and pizza category, and let's give pizza name. So we are only selecting the columns we will need for analysis inside Power BI, and what we are getting from is from pizza sales analysis. Now let's run this. See if there is some issue. Syntax error, pizza sales analysis, input pizza sales analysis. Okay, it's not form, it's from. And now let's run this. So this will display only those columns we need, and let's get it started. And here you can see the order ID, quantity, month name as January, and then okay, others, date name, and order time, unit price, total price, and others. So now what we will do is create the aggregate from this table. So we will be copying the exactly above command and then creating some aggregate. So let me show you how to do that. So let's select uh, distinct order ID. So how we do that is we will give count, and inside let's give the new name distinct order ID, and here we will give order ID. Now let's get the sum of quantity as quantity, sum of quantity from quantity, and let's also get the sum of unit price, sum of unit price. Let's also get the sum of total price, and now what we're going to do is group this by the columns we want. So use group by, and let me check. So we will give the numbers of those columns which are not using sum or count. So 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. So let's give 3, 4, 5, sorry, 8, 9, 10, and this should work. Let me count it again. So this 1, Now let's run this. Okay, so count, now it's count. Let's run this again. Okay, there is some issue. Okay, so here it should be distinct space order ID, and then again there is some issue. Let me check what's the issue is. The spelling of distinct was wrong. That's why it was giving the error. Now let's try to run it again. And here you can see it's given the exact data we wanted. Now what we are going to do is create some visualizations using Power BI using this data. And to do so, what we can do is download the first 10,000 rows, so that because we are using community edition of Databricks, we can not directly connect Power BI to this community edition of Databricks. So we can just download this data. Let's download it and it's done. And next thing, in the next part of the video, we will perform some visualization using Power BI. Thank you. Hello and welcome. In this part of the video, we will use the table that we created for the sales aggregate or the sales analysis and use this to create some visualizations in Power BI. So what we can do is go to Power BI desktop, and in here you will see a page just like this. Okay. And what we have to do is get data and click on more. So this will give you option to access data from anywhere. If you're using something like Azure Databricks, so you can search for Databricks and connect with Azure Databricks or just simple Databricks and then click on connect. And here you will get the option to get the host name and others. But because I am using community edition, I will have to download the data and then post it here. So let's download it. Go on this and click on download all roles up to 5 GB compressed. It's all right. Re-execute and download. Let's just wait for it. This will download our group by data in a CSV format, and then we can upload onto Power BI. So what we can do is get data and select Excel workbook. And in here, let's go to downloads. Where is it downloaded? That's all files. So here you can see export one. This is my Excel file. Let's wait for the connection to happen so that, and here you can see all the files. This is just the first few lines and based on the first 100 rows. Now click on load. This will load our data onto Power BI and we will be able to create some KPIs. These are the pending changes. Okay, so now we can build our visualizations. What is it showing? It's all right. We can create our visualization. So let's first create a text box and let's give inside sales analysis, and let's also increase the size a little bit. Sales analysis. Now let's also give it in the center, and also let's extend this. Now we can also change the background of this. So, and let's select this and okay, you can go to background and let's select the background color as a little bit darker something. Okay, and now also let's change the text color and now let's give white. Blue and white looks fine. Now we can also give visual border, and you can change the border color. Let's give something that, okay, this should be, well, border size is very small, so text visual border, and let's also increase the width so that we can see. Now you can see, and let's also round the corners. Okay, this should be fine. Now let's give rounded corners, and here let's also increase the size here so that we can properly see. Now you can also change the visual background color from here. Go to canvas background, let's select, um, and let's also change the transparency. Here you can see. Now let's create some basic visualizations, and do so, click here. Let's create a, oh, what we want to select is a card here, so let's also, not here, so let's also give, um let's give order ID and inside card. So this is the total number of orders, and so here you can change what you want. I'm selecting sum of orders. You can also select average orders. Let's just select sum, and also make it a little bit shorter, and you can also edit this a little bit. So click on this, format your visuals, go to general, effect, let's give background color. Okay, this is not, does not look good, but this should be fine. Now we can also change the transparency, and also let's change the border. Let's give a little bit rounded borders, and let's also create another card. Let's give card as, um, sum of total price. So let's move it here. You can also change the name of the card. Select it, go to, and here you can see sum of all total price. You can, and is less than something and greater than something. Let me, okay, it's not working, don't worry. Now let's add one more card. Okay, let's add one more card, and in here let's select, mm, quantity. So this will be the sum of quantity of the all the orders. You can change that. Go to general, and let's go to effects. Let's change the color, and let's click some transparency. Go to visual border on. Let's round the corners. Let's also round the corners for this. Change color, transparency. I can also create shadow of the borders. We'll just create good visualizations. Effects, shadow. Now what we want to do is just get simple charts for, so select line chart, and let's give quantity by date. So this will give us the how, like you can see Friday has the most orders, Sunday has the least, and this will give us the graph, uh, line chart. We can also create, let's say, a pie chart for the same, and let's just keep it at line chart. Now let's create another visualization for pie chart. Let's give order time by pizza category. So this will give us a line chart, a pie chart of order time by pizza category. So you can see, and let's just change, instead of order time, let's give uh, sum of total price. So you can see what pizza has been ordered the most so that the expenditure is most on it. We can also give, let's give quantity. So this will give us the quantity according to the pizza type. There are n number of combinations you can perform on Power BI. So that's not the aspect of this video. So thank you for this opportunity. That's it.